talk about the business to business buyer's journey, and how you as a seller can align to those buyers, and more importantly, win those buyers your way. Now, typically, if you see the cycle that the journey that the buyer goes through, it is starting from the moment they identify that they have a problem, then they start doing initial research to find how to solve that problem, get themselves engaged, educated, get themselves aware of the different solutions available from a conceptual standpoint. For example, they may go to a Gartner or a Forrester or any such third party white paper to familiarize themselves on how they can solve that problem. They may look at influencers, thought leaders on social media to see if some of them are advocating certain kind of solutions to their specific problem. They also look at different vendors and their competitors' website. So they may look at you as a vendor. They may look at maybe 5 other competitors to learn from their blogs, their white papers, their webinars, so on and so forth. And then they may visit you as one of the active sellers or vendors that they may want to evaluate. Of course, filling a form, and then that conversion happens through a qualified opportunity, and they evaluate you, and then ultimately they make a decision on which vendor. 77% of your buyers told us that their recent purchase has been either difficult or very complex. Okay, and this is stated by Gartner. So now you can imagine, if 77% of buyers are finding it difficult or challenging to make a purchase decision, the question then is, what can you do to make it easy for a buyer as a seller? Yeah. So conceptually, can you make buyers' life easy so that they can make right purchase decisions and positively in your favor as a seller? That's your single point agenda in solving this 77% of B2B buyers complexity. If you are a reactive seller, then your chances of winning enterprise deals are almost zero. Yeah, because you are very late in the game. Like, train has already passed, now you reach the platform. You can't do much. The only luck you have is if the train is late. The moment you find that sales intelligence, you have to start your outreach so that you're reaching out to those individual buyers and companies and let them know that you exist, and you exist to solve that particular problem. Yeah.
So there are companies which have which offer sales intelligence solutions, and they are cheaper. And one way I have found of finding out more about who is interested in your product is by registering for the webinars of my competitors. There I get a lot of information on what are they saying about the market, how are they talking about the industry and the trends, and how are they addressing their customers, and what, according to them, are the challenges of the customers which they are addressing in the webinars. I do a lot of this. There are not too many communities in India. There is none for sales, but I attend other women's communities webinars. And then that also helps me to get the data on who is attending. They're obviously in the market.
What can we do to be the proactive sellers? Yeah. So the answer to that is simple. You should be aligning to your buyer to be able to influence them. So to do that, you better be at the step 0 of the buying cycle rather than anywhere in between or towards the end. So that's the single biggest advantage you have if you're right at the beginning of the buying cycle. Yeah, you're giving them a call, give them the value. Every touch point you must consider as an opportunity to significantly drive value to the customer. Now, when you do that, then the customer automatically registering you as someone who is credible, someone who is reliable, someone who has the substance and the know-how to deliver that solution. So that is what I mean by aligning and influencing during the engage, educate, and influence phase. Make sense? Okay. And when you adopt this proactive selling approach based on strategies and tactics I just elaborated, you're very, very likely to impact these KPIs and metrics in positive ways. For example, more qualified leads. What do I mean by that? You may get quite a few form fills on your website as an example, but I've consistently heard over many years of my experience that marketing measures themselves by how many leads they've given it to sales. Marketing couldn't care less about the quality or the qualification of those leads. For them, a lead is a number, they met their number, they're done. But as a salesperson, you say, wait a minute, you gave me 100, but 100 of these so-called leads are junk. So what am I going to do about it? So quality is a very, very big challenge in addition to quantity being a challenge. But when you approach some of the strategies that I elaborated, you're very likely to improve the quality of the opportunities. That in itself will result into the cascading KPIs and metrics for better positive rate. Okay, that's single most impact it has. The other thing is, okay, now that it is qualified, does it mean that I will get an opportunity to book a meeting with that buyer? If you were to use the so-called MQLs or marketing qualified leads, and then you apply the outreach to book meetings, let's say you do, just for the sake of conversation, you do 5% out of that 100, and you have same 100 more qualified leads, you're very, very likely to have at least 10 to 15 to 20% of booked meetings. So a quality lead translates into higher conversion of booked meetings. If you don't have a face time with the customer, you don't have a chance to sell anything to them. So it impacts your booked meetings ratio as well. Okay, what else it does? Let's say in a classic scenario, your buying sales cycle for your buyers is 6 months, just as an example. But because you have been a smart, proactive seller, and because your buyer is already aware of your company, your value proposition, the content-based marketing, the credibility, the authenticity, the integrity that you have established during the buyer journey, all of those factors will contribute to shortening your 6 months to at least, let's say, 5 months. Even that is 15 to 20% of faster deal closure. So if you're closing every deal at 5 months instead of 6 months, that means you can close more deals in a given month. That's what it means. So it will clearly impact the sales cycles as well, anywhere between 10 to 20%. That's another positive KPI that you could take home. The other thing, which is probably the biggest of all, is, okay, what is my win ratio? Let's say your qualified leads are 100, your big booked meetings are 20, and you have reduced the sales cycle to, let's say, 5 months to 5 months from 6 months. And in a traditional way, you're closing 2 out of 100 leads. And if you're able to close 4 out of 100 leads, that means your win ratio has jumped by 100%. In addition to closing 2 more additional deals, your win ratio is 100%. Now that is something that you go for. So instead of 2, you're closing 4 deals. That's a significant metric to have. So it really impacts when you do a proactive selling, just the way I explained in the past. And then it could also lead to greater deal size. The reason is, if you say, okay, Mr. Customer, this is a core problem that you are intending to solve. No doubt our solution can solve that core problem. In addition to that, have you thought about the periphery of that core problem which can add substantial value in solving the core problem. Yeah, it could be anything. So the moment you expand that knowledge base of the customer and open the customer to new avenues which are adjacent to the core problem, now you have a greater opportunity to expand the deal size. If it is a 100K USD per annum deal, you stand a greater chance through the influence, education and engagement, thought leadership, authenticity, trust, relationship, all of that, to make that 100,000 to 120,000 by influencing the customer. What I would like to leave behind is find buyers early in their path to purchase, and intent data is one of them. And in the buying cycle, you begin right at the beginning of the buyer journey, so that you have the great chance of not only aligning and influencing, but also educating and engaging buyers throughout that buyer's journey. So that is the second one. And three is use content to your advantage, because content is a soft sell. Content is a consultative sell. The moment you start selling and being very salesy, the buyers will be put off by it and they go away from you, because they don't like to be sold. They like making decisions to buy. So content centricity is a great way to soft sell and also win their trust, the relationship, to be able to influence your buyers to your narrative. Very, very important, content centricity. The other is, of course, you can't do it on your own. So leverage tools and vendors, for example, Winsights, to kind of help you throughout that buyer's journey in getting your strategy right from step zero. And do not forget that people buy from people that they know, that they like, they trust. Okay, always humanize your experience that you're giving to your buyers. So just like B2C customer experience, B2B customer experience is equally important, which means not only you're doing those things, but also always understand that the individual, the opposite side, thinks, what is in it for me? That's a human nature. Of course, the company benefits, no doubts about it. But me as an individual playing a certain role, how is choosing your solution going to help me? So the way to modify your narrative is, if you're talking to a CFO, talk to him or her in the pure ROI language. Okay, this is the likely investment you're making, and this is the ROI we are giving you year on year. This is the productivity gain, this is a cost gain, this is a profitability gain. Whatever you want to say that in terms of numbers, because CFOs love numbers. But if you go to a CIO, he couldn't care less about the ROI. He thinks, or she thinks more about, how is it going to make my life easy when I deploy your solution in the current IT landscape I have? Do I need to do heavy lifting in terms of integration, in terms of security, in terms of user access? So his or her problems are different. So narrative has to be something which it makes the CIO's lives be easy, for example. Yeah. So similarly, when you go to a CTO or CMO, CRO, the idea is understand which buyer you are talking to, because there are more than a few buyers in the enterprise sale. Now address the KPIs that a typical CFO, CIO, CTO looks at, and talk your language that is specific to the KPIs that individual looks at. So that's a great way to connect with those professionals. And whatever little that you can learn about them, let's say professionally or personally, somebody says, I'm a mom of 3 daughters. Okay, maybe you're a mom of 2 daughters. That could be a great cue to connect with that individual personally. And people absolutely love that. So find reasons and find cues to connect with that individual personally, because again, like I said, people buy from people. And the other one is facts first, meaning while you may have your own ideas, your thoughts on what is right, what is smart, what is great, all of that, that has its own respect. But what is more meaningful is, if you want to really converge as a team, you can only converge on facts. Okay? Perception, experience, perspective, all of that matters, but always look at facts and learn from the facts for a reality check, and also to be able to measure your performance, learn, adapt, and improve in a Kaizen or a continuous learning kind of a mindset. So look at facts objectively and make decisions driven off that rather than any subjective conversations.